In the past months, I have been seeing AI agents becoming very famous. Some YouTubers claiming that they even fired some people from their team cause they replaced them with these AI agents. In this video, I'll put it to test if I can entirely replace myself with bots on all of my social media accounts. I mean, creating an AI agent which will create the post from scratch for me and it will post it on my social media platforms. This video will include all the technical details and codes which I'll be using to make this happen. So in case you want to implement it yourself, it will allow you to do so. So without any further ado, let's get started. Now, first thing I did was I went to ChatGPT and asked it to create content for me on a specific topic. Hey ChatGPT, create a post on freelancing for me. Build a strong profile, set clear rates and contract, network and market yourself, deliver quality and meet deadlines, keep learning and improving. Freelancing equal to freedom plus hustle. Ready to start? Hashtag freelancing life, hashtag work from anywhere. Now, anyone can understand that this post is AI generated and I would never post something like this on my account. I want AI to speak like I do, and for solving this issue, I'll have to train AI by giving it my previous post and letting it know how I speak and let it mimic my speaking style. This in AI terms is called creating a fine-tuned model. So here's a quick way on how I did it. First things we need to do is collect data that OpenAI can be trained on. Follow my steps and format here, and at the end you will get what we are doing. We create prompt and post for each of my tweets or posts that I liked and want to train it on. I copy the post and paste it here. I do similar thing for another post. And now we need to think that if AI created this post, what would the prompt for the post look like? And we write that prompt. Since we'll be doing it for many posts, it's better to let AI create the prompt for each post like this. Now first I did this for 2 posts, but we need more data, at least 15 more posts, since the more the better, and so I did. And here's how it finally looked like. By the way, you can also do this with your favorite creators' posts if you want to sound like them. Great. Now the next steps were to convert it into a specific format that OpenAI accepts for training and creating a fine-tuned model from it. And so to do it faster, I went to Visual Studio Code. I created a new Python file and a variable named big text in it. Then I paste all the data we created here, and then we create our first function which uses regex and JSON to extract each post and prompt so that it can be converted into messages.jsonl format. This is the format that we'll need to pass it to OpenAI for fine-tuning our model. I'll attach a link in the description for the complete code in case you want it. Now moving on with the code, we create a second function which converts the post and prompt for each post into a proper JSON structure and puts it into a file which can be used to pass to OpenAI for fine-tuning. At last we pass the big text into the first function to convert it into structured data, and then the structured data into second function which converts it into proper JSON file. And then we run the code. We wait, and this is how the data looks like, and it's how OpenAI accepts it. You could also create this file manually, but it would take much time, and so it's better to create it by code. And now is the time to pass it to OpenAI for creating our fine-tuned model. Now we can go to this URL platform.openai.com/finetune. You can also access this category via their dashboard. You got to log in if you haven't logged in already. Now when you reach here, we click on create, and we pass our messages JSON file here. It's recommended to use GPT-4 model, and we keep all the other settings same, and we can hit create now. Then we wait for some time to let it train on the data that we have passed it, and it succeeded. Ignore the failed one, it was because of my billing issue. But yeah, now that it is done, we can test it by going into Playground and selecting a model here. It's this one. After it was done, I then tested again and asked it to create a post on freelancing, and the results were actually good. It was now able to speak more like me, but I faced some issues. I noticed that it can speak like me and less like AI, not always to be exact, but majorly it did, but it still had the AI knowledge and no unique take on things which we get from human experience. I need to teach it the things that I personally have learned from my experience, and I would like to share it with people through my posts. After thorough research, I found a solution suggested by other content creators on the same topic, and that was I needed to create a brand brief. Now, a brand brief in this case would be a document which includes everything I know and have learned from my experience. It includes information about myself, my achievements, then my learnings, my advices and tips that I would like to share it with people so that AI can learn from it, and based on it, it can create the post. So I created a Google Doc for it and listed out the stuff and started the workflow again. First, we create a new Google Doc and name it Brand Brief. And then add all the data about ourselves, like our achievements, things we have done in the past, what are the things we follow and believe and such. Basically, this is the document AI will refer to when creating new content about something and won't deviate from the path. Now, AI can only generate the post but not tweet it or post it on LinkedIn or Twitter or connect different parts of our process. And so, we need a platform that will help us create the AI agents, and that platform is n8n.io. We first sign up and we create our workspace. Now, to use a trained AI model, we create OpenAI credentials here and add the API key from our account. Similarly, we add credentials for other integrations as well that we'll need in the process. This part, if you have confusion, you can refer to n8n docs, and they are pretty easy to understand and follow. Now, after adding credentials, we create our first workflow and name it Get Post Ideas. Now, we use the node when executed by another workflow, which enables us to connect other workflows to it. We then add Google Docs node to it and get the URL from our brand brief. Add it here and test. Working good. Now we add edit fields node to here to separate the content from Google Docs and pass it easily to next node. Now we add the main node, which is of OpenAI Messenger model. We select GPT-4o Mini since it's sufficient for this use case, and we tell it in message, you are a skilled social media content creator, and create 10 potential post topics given the below brand brief. We also give it proper JSON format to use so that we can then separate each topic. We test it, and you will see that it appeared in JSON format, but it's not recognized as JSON, and that's why it's important to check this specific button. And we test it again, and great, we receive the post ideas from our brand brief. Then we create another edit node to have suggestions in a separate field to easily output it to next workflow we create. Now that we have got the post ideas, we can create a first initial post. And so I create a new workflow and name it Create Initial Post. We add the node when executed by another workflow, which will take in content suggestion and create a post out of it. Currently, since this workflow is not connected with the past workflow, and so we set mock data for testing and add one post suggestion here from our last workflow. Now we get our brand brief again with Google Docs node. Working good. Now we create an edit node to separate content and post suggestion for easy access. We add OpenAI node here, but now we select our own trained model here so that it speaks like us. And in messages we tell it to create a concise social media post based on post topic and brand brief. Then we test it. Working amazing. Now at last we add an edit node to pass the generated post to another workflow. And after testing, it still deviated a lot and produced own results which I don't agree with. It was obvious cause one or two single page brand brief cannot contain the experience that I have gained over years. It could create some posts but it would get too repetitive after like just 2 or 3 posts. After too much thinking and trial, I thought, how about it takes ideas from my already generated content on YouTube cause I generally post 2 to 3 videos here on YouTube every month which includes my latest experience, and so it would be a good source of data for AI to create posts based on that specific data. Now, if you want to replicate this, then you gotta get a source where you constantly share about your learnings and use that as a brand brief. Or you can use your other favorite content creators as a source as well. That can be a bit gray area though, but it can be called stealing like an artist. But wait for some seconds, cause it's not completely stealing with what is coming forward. So here, we create a new workflow and we name it Update Brand Brief. This is the workflow we'll use to regularly update a brand brief to create new fresh content. We'll add a webhook node which will listen for events that we trigger through the program that we'll be creating. Now we have enabled it and it's listening for data. And so we create a Python program and name it updatebrandbrief.py. Again, I'll share all this code in the description. So here in this code, I won't go into much detail, but essentially here we use YouTube transcript API library to get the transcript of a YouTube video, which we later use for creating brand brief. We randomly select any video out of the last 5 YouTube videos for your channel or the channel you specify. Then after the transcript is fetched, we pass this data to our n8n webhook by pasting its URL in the program. We run the Python program and we see the YouTube video transcript data here in the workflow. Great. Now we can create another edit node to separate it from other data. Now, before we add brand brief data to Google Docs, we need to remove the previous data. And so, we use two Google Docs node here. First one, which gets the previous data from the Google Doc. And then the next one, which will update the old data with new empty string. And hence, deleting the old data. Then we add another OpenAI node with GPT-4 Turbo model and ask it to create a new brand brief from the collected data. Great. Then at last we use a Google Doc node to add this new brand brief data. Awesome, it's updated. We save it and we add the production webhook URL to the program instead of the test one. And we can schedule this program using cron tab to run weekly to update our brand brief once a week and create fresh new content on new topics. And after testing, it did generate better results than before. Some posts were actually so good that I could genuinely start posting them from that point itself. But some were still little bad or undetailed or lacked a personal touch. Some also had like hashtags which I personally never use and I would never recommend someone to do it. And so to solve this issue, I thought to create another document that will have a certain set of rules that I will add myself, and I can add more rules as I see the mistakes done by AI, and that will help refine the post until it meets all of the mentioned conditions. We create a new doc and name it Post Improvement Rules, and here we define all the rules we want to see for our tweet or post. I observed some mistakes and to reduce them, I created these rules like it should not add hashtags and some other specific rules. Then in our initial post generation workflow, we get the Google Docs and tell OpenAI node to follow these rules. Great. Now we need to connect all our workflows to create a post for every day and save it in database. We'll be saving in DynamoDB table, which I'll show you in just a second. First, we add a scheduler which will run once a week and save our posts. Then we add execute workflow and select our get post ideas workflow, and we can test it out. As you can see, it generates a list of suggestions. Then we connect create initial post workflow and let it create the post for the first post suggestion. Great, now it has created the post. We need to save it so that at last we can schedule it, and so here we use DynamoDB table, which is a NoSQL table and it allows easy access to data. I already created a table named social media post, which is where we save the data. I then create a key named user ID and set the value as the day, like Monday for this node, and then save the post that it generated by our workflow. We test the step and you will see that the post is saved in our database table for Monday. Amazing. Now as we did create it for Monday, we need to do it for each post idea for each day. We can simply copy the last two nodes and change the post idea number and the day in the node. Perfect, and we finally test it out. Now this is the final step. All our posts are saved in the table and we need to schedule it, and so we can create a workflow for it. We create a schedule trigger which will run every day and get the post for that specific day. Then we connect a Gmail node with it, which will ask for permission for posting. Just to be on safe side to not post any bad tweets. We add the operation as send and wait for response, set the email, and set approve and disapprove in the mail which will be received here in the node. Let's test it out. And we see a mail which asks for permission and asks if it's good to post. After we approve it, we see it here in the node, and we can then add a if else block to pass it to the next node only if it's approved. And at last, we connect our Twitter and LinkedIn social media node here. Now, if we disapprove the post from a mail, I have also added get feedback on the post and then recreate it with improvement and ask for permission again. But at this point I won't explain it since you already know how to create it easily, and I don't wanna bore you up. And now our entire workflow is completed. I was close. It was time to test out the whole process. I clicked test workflow and waited. it was generating a post one after another. It just felt like it was another me at work. And as I checked out the posts, they were actually good. Not all of them were good, to be honest. Around 10% of them I would post it directly. Around 30 to 40% still needed manual refining, and remaining I can discard. And so I activated the workspace so that it would create the post for me for the next week. Before posting, it would ask me from my mail to confirm if it's good to be posted or not. If not approved, it would take my feedback and then recreate a new post and ask for my confirmation again. If I don't confirm, it won't post it up. After 1 week of enabling the workflow and daily post, almost no one I think was able to find that it was AI that was posting on behalf of me. I did get some replies like saying, can you elaborate more on shorter AI posts? But there were also good replies saying that they are loving my content and finding them helpful. Of course, cause AI was posting things learned from my real experience. There were some posts which needed refining and I would do the refining before they got posted. Now, did I like the results? I actually have mixed opinion on that, cause none of the posts it generated had the chance of going viral. But they did add value to people who were reading them, since they were based on my learnings given in the brand brief. It was also good in terms of the amount of time it would save me. I could just check them out on a weekend, spend like 15 minutes to do the refining and post them out. It was also nice in terms of laying out the basic idea and post so that I could make it better and eliminate the time to think of what to post. Now, would I keep using this workflow on my social media profiles? I think yes, but not completely. I would do it in combination of my raw takes as well, along with the refined posts from AI. And that's it. It was an exciting experiment and I'll be doing more of them, so be sure you are subscribed to this channel. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.